Happy holidays and welcome to DCTV's special presentation in honor of Giving Tuesday. I'm Lisa D., Director of Community Engagement, Programming, and Communications here at DCTV. There are more than 12,000 nonprofit organizations in Washington, D.C., and according to the Center for Nonprofit Advancement, 8,000 of those are registered 501c3 organizations. These nonprofits have a great economic impact in the district, generating more than $40 billion in annual revenue. What's also commendable is the enormous amount of volunteer work that is performed in our communities. Our mission here at DCTV is to provide meaningful media to the residents of Washington, D.C. and the surrounding communities. We are always hard at work providing a platform for local voices to be heard and to spark meaningful dialogue to address a variety of issues affecting those residents. In 2019, DCTV launched a unique capacity building grant program for the purpose of helping nonprofit organizations increase their communications capacity and to cultivate our communities with meaningful media. We developed this grant with the guidance of nonprofit leaders who told us that getting the message out about their organization's mission is one of the biggest challenges they face, especially in this ever-evolving digital world. So today, we are here to tell their stories and to give a platform to these meaningful messages of impact. It is truly an honor for all of us here at DCTV to celebrate Giving Tuesday and to showcase the many nonprofit organizations here in Washington, D.C. and all over the DMV that are making a huge difference in the lives of others. As communities continue to face challenges and difficulties due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the services and assistance these nonprofit organizations provide to the residents are more important than ever. Giving Tuesday is celebrated each year on the first Tuesday after Thanksgiving. It was started back in 2012 and is recognized globally as a way of encouraging people to give and to help others. It is our hope that by watching this 24-hour special programming event, you'll be inspired to find out more about these organizations and the important work that they continue to do on a daily basis. Throughout this special event, you'll be introduced to various members of DCTV staff as we come together in honor of Giving Tuesday. But first, we'll hear from the CEO of the Center for Nonprofit Advancement and the Chief Service Officer and Director of the Mayor's Office on Volunteerism and Partnerships, Serve DC, with a message for our communities about nonprofits and volunteerism. Enjoy.
Nonprofits over this last year and through the pandemic have really stood in the gap. We have reached communities that government and no other support systems could get to. The communities hardest hit and the people hardest hit with challenges. So when you look at organizations that have distributed PPE, have helped to get technology to homes where young people were being challenged with virtual schooling, providing food and even shelter, those are some of the things that were so important and more important during this challenging time that nonprofit organizations were able to execute gracefully and masterfully. There is a tremendous partnership with government and nonprofits in the District of Columbia. It's Serve DC, the Mayor's Office for Volunteerism and Engagement that the center works with to really ensure that every corner of the district has support, is meeting the needs of people in communities and making sure that that drive that we talk about is actually happening.
In 2020 and 2021, our nonprofit community stepped up in epic ways, especially during the onset of the pandemic. They leaned in to ensure that there was no disruption of essential services on behalf of our residents by providing access to food delivery, housing, and health and social services. Our mayor and local government officials also look to nonprofits to be the trusted relationship and provider to their constituents for COVID-19 testing and vaccine availability. So they have really been at the backbone and the foundation of our community during this really sensitive and unprecedented time.
stay involved, stay connected. It's not enough to just sit around and watch and see what's happening. It's super important for us all to do our part and share in the work of our communities.
Hi, I'm Maurice Jackson, Master Control Technician at DCTV. There are more than 76,000 seniors in the DC area, accounting for nearly 12% of the population. And according to statistics, thousands of people are in need of counseling for such things as substance abuse, domestic abuse, as well as tragic events that they have experienced. Fortunately, there are a number of DC area nonprofit organizations who are dedicated to providing advocacy services to seniors as well as those with other needs, including coping skills. We are about to introduce you to 7 such nonprofit organizations who are going above and beyond to provide those types of services. They are Seabury Resources for Asian, Casa for Children of DC, District of Columbia Recovery Community Alliance, Inc., Asian Pacific Islander Domestic Violence Resource Project, DC Rape Crisis Center, Marijuana Matters, and Council on American Islamic Relations, or CARE Foundation, Inc. You will learn more information about these organizations as their mission is explained.
Seabury is a mission-based nonprofit organization that provides personalized and affordable services and housing options to help older adults in the greater metropolitan area live with independence and dignity. So our programs work with caregivers, older adults, their family members, with care management services working with a master's prepared social worker. We have social services that help coordinate home delivered meals. We provide transportation options, and we also have a very active senior wellness center in Ward 5. I mean, we know what we need, and part of our new agency, Seabury DC, is participant-led. We decided that would be something that would be very important. And so caregivers, yes, you can have caregivers and family members to help you, but you know what you need. And you're going to engage in it if you make that decision. So that's why that autonomy is very important. And we work with our care management service and our housing staff. They help people work through that field. You see lots of new development going up, but sometimes there's not any affordable housing in that at all, or the developers only can create a small percentage. And so as the economy continues to grow and the wage gap, as you mentioned earlier, as well as prices going up, it's very difficult. And so affordable housing is extremely important. I mentioned that I receive lots of calls a day regarding that. And I'm just so proud that we are able to provide affordable housing. We have 3 communities, and we hope to expand that portfolio in the future.
I love living here. It's close to everything. The people here are nice. My close friends are nice. And, you know, people kind of look out for each other. The staff puts together things that are very interesting and fun.
For more information, visit our website at seaburyresources.org.
Welcome to Impact Moment right here on DCTV. I'm Alvin Jones, and with Impact Moment, we pride ourselves on bringing you information that can help the community in so many ways, and today is no exception. I have the pleasure of telling you that on this show we have Erica Adams. She's with Casa for Children of DC, and to show you that I'm not faking, matter of fact, let's bring her right up on camera right now. Erica, are you there?
I am.
Thank you for making me authentic and let everybody know don't believe me, just watch. So first of all, welcome to the show, and let's talk about CASA. What does CASA stand for?
CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates.
And explain that. I understand it. There are some people who do understand it, but there are probably some folks who don't understand what a court-appointed special advocate is and the great work that they do to help children.
So CASA volunteers are just regular everyday people who have decided that they're willing to step up for a kid. So they form a mentor-like relationship with these kids and then also advocate for them by going to court, making recommendations in front of the judge, helping them achieve goals and life skills, things like that.
So let me see if I can get this straight. There's someone right now who's watching who wants to give more, who says, look, the children are our future, and who am I to be blind, pretending not to see their needs? And they've decided that they want to actively participate to help another young person so that they have a good opportunity for a good life. So they are the type of people that should be calling CASA?
Absolutely. And we provide 30 hours of training for all volunteers. So they don't need to know anything coming in. They just need to be willing to step up and be committed to these kids.
So if I get this right, Erica, what you're telling me is someone wants to help a child. Someone wants to give a child the future. Someone wants to help that young person get on the right path so they can have a good life. And they don't have to have any knowledge before. All they have to do is just care.
Yes. And be willing to be committed to these kids.
Wow. Now, let's talk about the children that CASA volunteers come across. What are their situations? What are their needs? And how can CASA volunteers help these very special people who need our help?
So these are kids that range from 0 to 21. They could be in the foster care system because of any number of abuse or neglect situations. Or we also work with youth that have crossed into the juvenile justice system in some way. And so these youth also need our volunteers to step up and tend to be older youth. Our kids in foster care kind of range the gamut, but those in the juvenile justice system tend to be a little bit older.
So a court-appointed special advocate acts in the special interests of that youth who is going into the court system?
Yes, exactly.
What are some of the things that the CASA volunteer does? You have a situation where you have a youth who is in the court system. What are some of the things that the CASA volunteer does to make sure that this youth will receive justice?
Yeah, so they get to know the youth and really who they are. Because each volunteer only works with one youth, they can really dedicate that time to getting to know them. They might go to a park or take them on an activity, really just talk to them and figure out what their needs are, but also what they like to do. So a lot of our volunteers expose our youth to new experiences. One youth got to go to a movie theater for the first time with their volunteer. It's stories like that that really show the impact of just a regular everyday person. And then they take that information that they learn and go in front of a judge. They write a report making recommendations for things like tutoring or therapy, and then talk to the judge about what the youth is like and what they need, and recommendations for permanency or for life skills or just supports that they can provide to each youth that they work with.
So right now we're talking with Erica Adams, and she is with CASA for Children of DC. And if I get this correctly, a person who wants to help the youth, a person who wants to help a young person get on the right track, they're not going to be given a whole bunch of different folks thrown at them. They're going to get one person who they get to spend time with, get to know, get to find out what those person's desires and dreams are. And when it comes time to talk to the judge or to talk to anybody in law enforcement or the legal system, they can say, hey, I know this young person. I know what their desires are. I know what they've been through. I know what they need. Here is my plan to get them to success.
Exactly. And that's what makes CASA volunteers unique members of the team. So every child in foster care has a social worker and has a guardian ad litem, which is an attorney appointed to them. But the CASA volunteer is the only one that only is working with that youth. It's also the only volunteer, and that really makes a difference to our kids and our families because that person is showing up for them and not being paid to do it. They want to be there.
So it sounds like CASA volunteers are like youth unicorns. But I know that there, but I know there are also some challenges. And what are some of those?
I think one of the biggest things is just a lot of these kids have been let down by adults in their lives time after time after time. So it really takes some effort to build trust and to build that relationship with these youth. So we have volunteers that are really committed to continuing to try, even if they don't get a phone call or even if they get stood up for an activity. We need them to keep trying and to keep their promises to these youth and to show them that adults can be trusted and that they can have really positive role models in their life.
So it sounds like there's going to be a lot of adults in the DC area who are going to want to help and be a part of CASA. Erica Adams with CASA for Children of DC, thank you so much for coming on Impact Moment.
Thank you so much for having me and for taking the time to highlight the volunteers in CASA for Children of DC.
It's our pleasure. You guys do so many great things, and I just want more people to know about you and get involved. So there it is. Once again, for Impact Moment, we're giving you information about people who are making a difference in the lives for people right here in DC. For Impact Moment, I'm Alvin Jones right here on DC TV.
The Asian Pacific Islander Domestic Violence Resource Project was founded to address the deficiency in resources for domestic and sexual assault survivors who are part of the API community. According to the nonprofit, Asian and Pacific Islanders face cultural and linguistic barriers as they try to seek help. Welcome to Impact Moment, brought to you by DCTV. I'm Rebecca Burnett, and today I'm joined by Executive Director Kritika Ghosh to learn how her organization is making a difference. Welcome.
Thank you, Rebecca. It's lovely to be here.
So many of your clients are low English proficient, relatively new immigrants, and your organization reports that they're less likely to seek services. Why is that?
I think that's because a lot of newcomers to this country are isolated. Because they're new to the country, but also intimate partner violence. One of the strategies and tactics is to isolate the survivor from getting support and from reaching out to community members or to friends and family. And also many of them don't really know that there is help available, and specifically help in their language, because they might try to contact a mainstream service provider who may not know how to support them in a culturally specific manner. A predominantly large number of our clients are new immigrants who are seeking our support and who have not had the chance to actually learn English or go out and get a job or have other means of support, financial support for themselves.
And you mentioned speaking to them in a culturally specific manner. Can you give some examples of ways that might be helpful if someone on the other side of the phone knows exactly what they're going through or what they need at the time?
Sure. I mean, one thing to keep in mind is that even within the Asian Pacific Islander communities, our cultures are very diverse and fluid, but there are some things in commonality. So, for example, if we had somebody who wanted to go into a shelter space and somebody was, a Muslim, practicing Muslim person, and they needed to access space that respected their beliefs, so we would know that, that they would need access to a space where they needed halal food, for example. meal. Or for many survivors, they speak about having access to a place where they can actually cook rice. Rice is a staple of our communities. We are always ensuring the confidentiality of our services, because coming from the same communities can be both a blessing and sometimes a challenge, because you might know people in common. So to ensure that services are provided in language, understanding the political and social and cultural backgrounds of the survivors calling in, but also ensuring that they're aware that all of the services and information we are providing is completely confidential and nothing will be shared with anybody outside of these two people.
And you reported that you saw an over 200% increase in calls since the beginning of the pandemic. What do you believe was the cause of that spike in calls, and how have you met the increase in demand?
So yes, I think one of the challenges once the pandemic came about was that survivors were stuck indoors with their perpetrators, especially at the very beginning where we didn't know what was happening. Everybody was told stay inside. So imagine being in an abusive situation with a perpetrator who was using that to their advantage. So we did have survivors call us when they were out on their daily walks, getting food, or any time that they could have to themselves. They were experiencing violence at home. They were experiencing racism and xenophobia on the streets. So one of the things that we did was also offer this healing spaces workshops, which included things like yoga, mindfulness, drawing, and art therapy, music. We had to come up with safety planning measures that recognize that this is who is really planning for a global pandemic, so we had to plan as we went. We provided support in terms of providing groceries and gift cards for groceries, as well as access to shelter and housing in circumstances that were very difficult. Many survivors lost their jobs during this time, as did many of the public. So we supported survivors in job training, but also reaching out and getting stimulus checks. Many stimulus checks were also taken from survivors by the perpetrators. That was one way of keeping them at home. It was like, we're taking this check so you can't leave, so that was a method of control. So we supported survivors in these methodology during the pandemic, and we continue to do so.
Great. And then if someone wants to get involved with your organization outside of the hotline, where can they find you? What is your website?
Our website is www.dvrp.org. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and our handle is @API-DVRP.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time, and thank you for all the great work that you're doing for the community. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And thank you to our audience members at home for tuning in to this episode of Impact Moment. It's part of DCTV's nonprofit capacity building grants program, bringing meaningful media to the DMV's nonprofits that are making a difference. Find out more at dctv.org/grants and stay up to date with our latest productions on our live stream at dctv.org/live.
So I was thinking that we could even do like peppers and carrots for them, that they could sell it like bundled with hummus.
Community Food Works is working to address food insecurity. For individuals or families that are using SNAP, it means that if you come to our markets, you're able to access a dollar for dollar match. So if you decide to take $10 off of your SNAP card, you'll have those $10 to spend and then an additional $10 through a Finney grant.
I think we get more fruits and vegetables for our bucks, and the products are good. I think it's better than the grocery store.
Yeah, and it is important because we don't have that much around here. We do need things like this for the community, the elders, the children, everybody.
There's a need for an organization that focuses on adult education, especially in the District of Columbia, because we know that over 52,000 individuals in the city do not have a high school credential. I think what's most unique about this program, and we hear this from our adult learners who attend, is that they feel welcomed to this community. It is a real community that supports them on their educational journey.
And when you walk through the doors, you realize like it's other people like me that live lives, have children, have grandkids.
I gotta show my children that, it's never too late. You know what I mean? You can always finish strong. This is for them. It's not just for me.
Our vision for the future really is to transform adult education. For more information about Academy of Hope, please visit us at www.aohdc.org.
The DC Rape Crisis Center, we were formed in 1972, and we were formed by white feminist women who saw a need that was happening in our community in terms of women who were being sexually assaulted and needed support. And so a group of volunteers formed, and they started a 24/7 hotline. They felt it was important to turn the leadership of the agency over to Black women in order to reflect the demographics of Washington, D.C. I've been at the DC Rape Crisis Center almost 13 years, and I've been executive director almost 6 years. We have repositioned the oldest rape crisis center in the country. When folks thought that we were going to shut down, we not only survived, but we also thrived. We also positioned the Sexual Assault Coalition in DC as a standalone entity. To date, we've served over 170,000 survivors of sexual assault. We offer individual and group counseling to survivors of sexual violence. And so whether or not you're a primary survivor or you're a secondary survivor, which means you might have not experienced sexual violence, but you have a loved one or a friend who have experienced sexual violence. In addition to that, we also offer a 24/7 hotline. We have our rapid emotional support team, which we call our REST team, and we're able to go out into the community very quickly and provide in-person support as needed. In addition to that, we do training and technical assistance, community engagement and prevention work, as well as public policy advocacy. Back in 2018, we led a team on Capitol Hill to support survivors of sexual violence who were being impacted by the Brett Kavanaugh Supreme Court hearings. And we made the case at the National Press Club on what it means to usher in a survivor-centered process for Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. We believe that all forms of oppression are connected. We operate from an anti-oppression lens, from an intersectional lens. We are all over the city, and we have a strong presence east of the river. We have done extensive outreach. This is a resource that is open to everybody. And that is not just for women, it's for men, it's for all walks of life. We are an agency who is truly diverse and really reflect the demographics of Washington, D.C., particularly in terms of the BIPOC community and the LGBTQI community. If you are a survivor of sexual assault and you need support, please reach out to us. Our hotline is 202-333-RAPE. We want you to know that you are not alone, and we would be honored to journey with you on your path to healing.
Once again, it's time for Impact Moment. Hi, I'm Alvin Jones right here on DC TV. And today I have with me Simona Wright James with Marijuana Matters. Simona, how you doing today?
I'm well, blessed, and highly favored. So I feel great to be in your presence here with DCTV. So definitely excited about this moment in this conversation.
Well, good. We are so happy to have you on. And, you know, cannabis has been a big subject in the last couple of years, and a lot of changes have been going on. And so that's one of the reasons we thought it was important to bring you on Impact Moment, so that folks who are watching can get an idea of what's really happening in the cannabis world, how things have changed, and what they can look forward to in the near future. So let's talk about your organization, what it does, and the impact that it has on the Washington, D.C. community.
Absolutely. We are created for the intense purpose of really being able to build an equitable cannabis industry. And for some of us, that may not ring bells, or it may not be clear what we mean by that, but an equitable cannabis industry is one where everyone is given the same amount of tools and resources to really be able to have a fighting chance, right, at some of the regulated cannabis opportunities that exist within the United States and within our city in particular. We show up obviously through advocacy is one of our main pillars. We also show up in providing education, and also through entrepreneurship training, where we're trying our best, we center individuals and communities that have been most impacted by the war on drugs, right? And really making sure to drive that home as much as possible when we're having conversations with legislators, regulatory bodies, when we're having conversations with cannabis consumers, and also when we're having conversations with the cannabis industry. We're always making sure to, again, center those who've been most harmed by the war on drugs. And the war on drugs, as you know, Alvin, has been going on for over 50 years. And, you know, it's ongoing still, right? Because you'll have individuals, unfortunately, our brothers and sisters who may still be incarcerated, right, behind the plant that is now legal in majority of the United States. And so where we come in is we say that we need to make sure when it comes to policies that speak to the medical program, that speak to the adult use program, that there is language that really writes in equitable practices so everyone has a fair shot at the industry.
Simona, thank you for that information, because there's a lot of things that people don't know or think they know or don't understand. So your information has been very concise and very on point. I appreciate that. So now we're at the question that I really wanted to ask you. Let's talk about some of the successes that you've had with Marijuana Matters.
Absolutely. And so, you know, success, I think, is defined a couple of different ways, right? I feel like the one that stands out for me, and I think our tribe, most of our tribe would agree, or really all of our tribe would agree, is really the story of Corvain Cooper. And for some, that name automatically means something, like they know who he is, his story. But he is a gentleman who's in his 30s, who was facing a life sentence for cannabis. Black and brown people have historically been unfortunately given the brunt end of the criminal justice system, or like I like to think of the criminal injustice system, right? In terms of that unfair sentencing that has normally been put through our drug policies, right? That have impacted Black and brown people disproportionately to other races, despite the fact that our usage has been the same, despite the fact that, you know, we don't interact with the plant any more or less than any other group of persons, right? But again, going back to Corvain Cooper, Black man, mid-30s, facing a life sentence. And it was thankfully due to organizations, Marijuana Matters included, like Last Prisoner Project, where we were able to bolster his story when he was incarcerated, to really help make sure that folks were aware that this injustice was happening. And we were part of, you know, a small part of his release in that, you know, Trump big grant. That was one of the last things that he did, decent things, where he granted him clemency, literally 2 days before he was out of office. So now this man has an opportunity to have his life back, right? He has an opportunity to engage now in the industry from that legal regulated side and be a part of something that he helped pioneer.
Thanks for that information, because there are so many things that are going on behind the scenes, and I just love the way that you've helped that gentleman. And I'm sure there are other people who are being helped as they go from injustice to justice. We are talking with Simona Wright James. She is the head of community engagement and the chief culture officer for Marijuana Matters. I just want to thank you for coming on the show. Your information was so valuable and insightful. You got to come back again.
I would love to. These absolutely are conversations that we look forward to having, and having them with really anyone who will have us, all right? Because we want to make sure that we are as informed as possible as a city and as a country about what's possible, right? And making sure to really fight for social equity for those most harmed by the war on drugs.
And with that, that's the final word. So all I have to say is, I'm Alvin Jones. This has been, once again, Impact Moment right here on DCTV. Welcome to Impact Moment. It's for you right here on DCTV. I'm Alvin Jones, and today I have with me Don Quattlebaum, who is with Seabury Resources for Aging. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for inviting us. We really appreciate it.
It is our pleasure. And let's talk about the great things that Seabury Resources does.
Okay, well, I want to start out just by saying, getting older in the DC region is challenging. And Seabury really is a trusted source of services and guidance for individuals and families in this area, so that all people, regardless of their income, can age with dignity. We serve over 15,000 older adults and caregivers, and during the pandemic especially, our mission has been more impactful, more important than ever. We've been engaging a lot of our clients and our residents in social activities because we have to prevent social isolation. Our care management service has noticed an increase in anxiety and depression. And so we've had virtual activities, we've had movie screenings, we have live entertainment, educational sessions. We've just provided so much, not only with our senior housing communities, but with clients in the community. Nationally, nearly a quarter of older adults aged 65 and older are considered to be socially isolated, according to the CDC. So it's very important for us to look at what we're doing, make adjustments as needed, and actually to bring in more clients and residents in order to really address that need.
Recently, what have been your biggest challenges and what have been your biggest joys?
I'll start with the challenges. I would say in the beginning, obtaining PPE. Our business manager and HR assistant is just wonderful. I mean, she just devoted her life literally to getting PPE not only to our staff, but also to our clients and our residents. And so it was very difficult to gather the shields that we needed for the drivers and the masks, gloves, and I would also add sanitation, chemicals, Clorox and Lysol. Those were running out left and right, and she was able to procure those items for us. And we also received new partnerships too, because there were people that were reaching out to us, which was wonderful to say, hey, we can donate these supplies. So that has been great. I would say my greatest joy would be those virtual visits with our senior communities outside, but we have photos, and some of our e-newsletters even feature some of those visits with the family members being able to see mom, dad, grandmom, and also our Age in Place program that provided yard work because we couldn't provide the in-home housekeeping that we normally do. But to get back to the yard, and especially as the grass started growing and bushes started growing, to have that connection with area volunteers and older adults in wards 4, 5, and 6. That's just really been great. I also want to add, though, that I'm so proud of our employees and how we have not just survived, but thrived during this pandemic. It's been a challenge, I have to say, and we know that for everyone has been experiencing that, but they have really pulled together even more as a team and working together to provide the quality services that we have been doing for almost 100 years. We'll be celebrating our 100th anniversary in 2024. So those things just really well me up and just make me be very proud to be a member of the Seabury team.
Well, Dawn, it sounds like Seabury Resources for Aging has stepped to the plate, hit some home runs, and still wants to play a couple of more innings. This game is not over.
That's right.
It's been my pleasure, Dawn. Thank you. So this has been another Impact Moment right here on DCTV. I'm Alvin Jones. Thank you for watching.
Our mission is to provide experiential learning opportunities for individuals, both for Americans going overseas and for foreign nationals coming to the United States. We believe that the world has a number of complex issues that are out there, and we need to cultivate and invest in a diverse set of talent to help them understand how they can contribute to addressing those challenges. All of our exchanges are experience-based, so that could be internships, workshops, professional visit tours. You can never stop learning, so there is no upper age limit. Most of our participants are over the age of 18, although we do have some participants in high school exchanges, but generally speaking, it's 18 and over. So several of our programs have an opportunity where you spend an evening, in the case of a foreign national coming to the U.S., you spend an evening having dinner with an American family. Well, in that situation, you're representing yourself, you're representing your country, your culture, your race, your profession, your family, and you're sitting there by yourself having a dinner, with people you've never met and you may never meet again. And what a great opportunity for you to represent yourself. And so I want them to feel that sense of confidence, that sense of responsibility to share about themselves, as well as to absorb information about your hosts.
When I turned 38, I celebrated the birth of my newborn son, Evan. 6 weeks later, I was barely alive. I had a widowmaker heart attack and open heart double bypass surgery. I didn't have pre-existing heart disease. I'd never smoked. I ate a healthful diet. I'd been a daily runner. My surgeon said this was a rare kind of heart attack caused by spontaneous coronary artery dissection, literally a torn artery. It was different than the heart attacks we hear about all the time, and that is exactly what made me angry. This heart attack in women, like me, had never been researched. In 2013, a SCAD survivor friend agreed to join me in creating SCAD Alliance, a 501c3 nonprofit. Our mission was to bring together every person affected by SCAD and each medical specialty related to SCAD so that we could take a comprehensive, integrated approach to to solving the challenges we all face together. As we say at SCAD Alliance, SCAD changes lives, hope is here.
Every day here in America, when the clock strikes midnight, literally people don't realize that 700 children are entering our foster care system. The sad part is that it's done so quickly that these children are removed, and what they grab is they grab literally a trash bag to put their belongings in. All of our donations come from people all over the world. We have given out over 100,000 cases to all 50 states, DC and Puerto Rico. We make sure that every child gets their own toothbrush, their own toothpaste, their own dental floss. We give every kid a book. Everybody gets a stuffy. I don't care if you're a newborn up to the age of 19. We all love a good stuffed animal. We realize that we're in this together. Go to comfortcases.org. Spread the word.
We started in 2007. The organization was founded by people in recovery that wanted to try to help address the stigma and some of the issues associated with folks who have had substance use issues, returning citizens. We're not a total abstinence organization. We prefer that if you're having problems. We certainly encourage your having support and being in support groups, but our goal is harm reduction. Our goal is to make sure you don't die in whatever recreational drug that you might be participating in, or if it's just alcohol. Our goal is for you to see the damage that you're doing so that we can help you undo that and get on the road to recovery. We're offering all types of rehabilitation services, job search, home, healthcare, all of the things that are available to you as a citizen or resident of the District of Columbia. We try to facilitate so that you don't have to go through the sometimes difficult process of getting your information together, so to speak.
Hi, well, my name is Demetrius Jones. I'm a certified peer recovery specialist with DCRCA. What I do here is a lot of outreach. We try to reach back into the community, find people who are suffering with substance use disorder, help them get back on track. Also help them use the tools that we utilize or I utilized in the past to help me stay focused, help me to really learn and reach out to the resources that we have available in the District of Columbia. There are several resources. There are resources for housing, there are resources for education, resources for food, for just about every need for the human being to survive in the District of Columbia and live well. The government provides it. And my job is to attach people to these resources and allow them to know that we care. And that right there alone is one of the biggest things that we can do in order to save a life, is to let the people know that we're here for them and we care. And that's what I do. Try to save a life every day. When I wake up every day, save a life, save a life, save a life. Use my life as an example to save someone else. That's what I do.
We have the services and they're offered in the city, but people don't know that we're here. You know, I had someone tell me once that there's nothing sexy about what you do, so they don't want to, it was always not in my neighborhood. But we're a community-based organization. We're here for everybody. Our goal is to educate and coach in all our clients to health and wellness, community wellness, and long-term recovery. That's our goal.
The best way to reach us is by going to our website, that's dcrecovery.org. And there you can have lots of information and we can address your concerns. We have somebody monitoring the chat room all the time.
During her first day of work at a marketing firm in Falls Church, a George Mason University grad requested she take her lunch break to pray. That's when she says the company refused to accommodate her request, which is in fact protected by law, and told her they wouldn't hire her after all. Welcome to Impact Moment, brought to you by DCTV. I'm Rebecca Burnett. Thanks to the help of the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CARE Foundation, Inc., the woman took the case to court and won. She was financially compensated, and the judge ordered the managers to take sensitivity training. Since 1994, CARE Foundation, Inc. has advocated for Muslim Americans in the Washington, D.C. area, just blocks away from the Capitol. Now, joining me now is Edward Ahmed Mitchell, CARE's Deputy Executive Director. Thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you so much for having me. A pleasure.
So this is, of course, just one of the many examples of the ways that your organization has helped Muslim Americans in the community. But I understand that you guys also kind of teach them how to advocate for themselves without you guys having to step in too. Tell me about that.
Absolutely. Look, you cannot defend your rights if you do not know what your rights are. And even if you know what your rights are, you can't defend them if you're not brave enough to do so. So a huge part of our work over the past 27 years has been educating the community about their legal rights and empowering the community to stand up for their legal rights. Obviously, an individual person can't always go to court by themselves, so we do have to play a role in supporting them in the court of public opinion and the court of law. But it's always the people who have to take that very first step to say, you know what, this discrimination I've experienced, this bigotry I've experienced, it's not okay, it's not legal, and I've got to do something about it. And then they pick up the phone and they call CARE, and CARE is there. CARE is there to help them, whether that's a Muslim woman who's fired for wanting to pray, a Muslim man who's being harassed while he's traveling to the airport, a mosque that's been burned down. We are there to help communities and individuals impacted by anti-Muslim bigotry in Washington, D.C., and also in many states around the country.
And the lawsuits are free for them. Why was it important for CARE to make sure that they're at no cost to the individual if they're going through something like this?
Absolutely. The Council on American Islamic Relations is a civil rights organization. We are not here to make a profit. We're not here to make money. We are here to serve people who have been impacted by discrimination. So when someone needs help from CARE, we are providing that help completely free of charge. We do not charge them a penny for the services we provide. The only way CARE can ever make money off a case is if we win a lawsuit and then we get our attorney's fees back from the other side. But the clients that we serve them at no cost. We are here to serve in a nonprofit capacity, and that's very critical to our work. People have to know they can get that help without having to pay anything, because if they have to go to a for-profit law firm, obviously they're gonna have to pay money out of pocket, money they may not have, and you shouldn't have to be rich in order to defend your rights in a court of law.
And I noticed that education is also part of your mission too, whether that's educating, and you have a long list, teachers, employers, prison staff about how to support Muslims that they work with, but you also talk with media professionals to make sure that they're portraying Muslims, people of Islamic faith, in appropriate ways. How can the community kind of do their part so CARE doesn't have to do quite as much?
Right, look, education is the best vaccine against discrimination. It's really hard to hate someone if you know a little bit about them. And it's really hard to mistreat someone if you know how they're supposed to be treated. So it's very important for us to, as you said, educate people, whether it's in the medical field, how to treat Muslim patients, in a prison setting, how to treat a prisoner who may have be Muslim or converted to Islam, in a school setting, how to treat a kid who might have some unique situations because of their Muslim faith. We have to take the lead in educating those different leaders and community members about those scenarios. But as you said, the community themselves also have to play a critical role because they're on the front lines, right? We can do as much as we can, but it's that parent of a student who's going to be on the front lines. It's that prisoner who's going to be on the front lines. It's that student in the school, that patient in the hospital room. So what we do is we give them things like educational pamphlets they can literally hand to someone that contain all the information that's needed to understand the issues. We make sure that we're giving trainings to Muslim communities at their mosques and other places to give them the education they need that they can then take and repeat in relevant scenarios. So yes, education is very critical to our work. We don't just want to sit around and wait for something bad to happen. We want to address it in the front end by educating people about the Islamic faith, our beliefs. We hand out free Qurans and we encourage people to read the Quran so they can get understanding themselves. And also we hand out education materials that can be used by many different people across the country.
And if someone is interested in getting those educational materials or joining or also maybe getting your help, where can they find you on social media?
Absolutely. So first go to care.com, www.care.com. That's the best place to go to find out what we're doing, what help you can provide, and also these resources. You can also find us on Twitter at Care National, Facebook at Care. And we also have many chapters across the country you can also find in your local area. So those are the best ways to reach out to us.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciated it.
Thank you for having me. A pleasure.
All right, and thank you to our viewers for tuning in to this edition of Impact Moment. It's part of our nonprofit capacity building grant program, bringing meaningful media to the DMV's nonprofits that are making a difference. Find out more at dctv.org/grants and stay up to date with our latest productions on our live stream at dctv.org/live.
We are glad that you are here with us on this special day of programming as we pay tribute to the incredible and critical work that nonprofit organizations are doing to make an impact in our community each and every day. I'm Julia Reardon, Grants Manager and Producer here at DCTV. One of the many reasons that we are here today is to highlight the hard work of our nonprofit grantees serving Washington, D.C. and the greater DMV area. Through our grant program, we engage storytelling, nonprofit expertise, and showcase the impactful work that our awarded grantees are doing in the district and beyond. The vision for the DCTV Nonprofit Capacity Building Grant Program really started many years ago. We have always known how critical the nonprofit sector is in DC, the mecca for nonprofits. So many people are served by nonprofits in so many ways, so we started working with nonprofits to help create and distribute meaningful media that is impactful. The DCTV Nonprofit Capacity Building Grant Program was established in 2019 to help nonprofit organizations build their media capacity and to provide video benefits directly to the hands of nonprofits by having them appear in our DCTV produced original programs. We wanted to share expertise from nonprofit leaders in a different way for our communities. This year, we have had 2 grant cycles join us. These are the recipients of the 3rd and 4th cohort of grantees. As we press through these unprecedented times, while we continue to see the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, we are now more than ever invigorated with our purpose to enhance nonprofit media capacity in these times where video and visual storytelling is needed more than ever. Congratulations to our grantees. We invite all nonprofit organizations who serve Washington, D.C. and the greater DMV area to apply for the Nonprofit Capacity Building Grant. We award grants twice a year in January and in July. So if your organization is interested in applying for this unique grant opportunity, please visit us online at www.dctv.org/grants to find out more about the program and how to apply. Let us help your organization tell quality stories about the important work that you do to make a positive impact in our community.